All right, everybody, welcome to this week's episode of the Weekly Software Workshop. For those of you who have been here before, you will know that this is a super informal workshop where we can sit here and talk and ask questions. The way we do let you guys unmute your devices and ask questions. So as we get going here, go ahead and feel free to unmute and ask as many questions as you possibly can have or need or want. It's super informal. I'm just going to take like one more minute here to let the attendee list start to slow down, and then we'll go ahead and get started. All right, that attendee list has started to slow down, so I'm going to go ahead and get started. For those of you who have got here after I said my spiel a couple minutes here ago, feel free to unmute yourself and ask any questions you may have throughout the workshop here today. And please also do not feel like you can't interrupt me. Please go ahead and interrupt. I'd rather you ask the question when you've got it right then wait and not have that question answered. And so for those of you who have not been here before or I have not had the pleasure of talking to before, my name is Mason Wells. I'm the manager of customer success here at eTruckBiz, and I do these workshops once a week so that way we can take the eTruckBiz system and take them into nice little bite-sized pieces, and so you're using as much of it as possible. So today we're going to do a monthly recap. So we're going to go over all the stuff we went over this month. We went over analyzing your WSW, managing safety programs, and using the maintenance system, all of which are in and of themselves individual pieces of the software that each one of you can use in your own way, but also great things to be utilizing in the system to manage your operation as a whole as well. So we'll go ahead and get started to do that here in a minute. Just to give some context to what we're going through for the next month, I cannot believe we are going to be in March. It is already not sinking in. So for those of you who also agree with me, I don't know how it's already March, but we're going to start getting into time definites in our system here. So the time definites in our system are in this optics app system. We also have some new updates to the software that I would like to show you today, where that optics app functionality is now also in the BOSS system. So for those of you who are waiting around for that, that is now in there as well. But next week, this is a great webinar to include your BCs, yourself, anybody that that utilizes eTruckBiz that hasn't been to these webinars in the past, or even contractors in your terminal that might, have questions about time definites. We're going to have everybody from eTruckBiz on it next week to answer any questions. We have a lot of anecdotal evidence. We've been working with a lot of people that have had those time definites for about, 3 to 6 months here. So the kinks, the things that they've done that worked and didn't work, we're going to go over that next week. The week after that, we're going to go over how to look at your settlement statements in our system. And then eRoute. eRoute is a big deal now because of the routing software, because it also ties back to those time definites. So your drivers being able to see and manipulate those time definites within our routing software does tie back into the optics app. And then we'll do a monthly recap where we go over what we went over for the month, which is what we're doing today. And that's a great one for like your BCs who haven't been able to make it throughout the month, but want to be able to be on it for one day and get all the information. So just so you are all aware, I think most of you who are on this call today have my contact info, but this is it. If you need have questions later or need more information about something, there it is. So with that in mind, we are going to go over analyzing your WSW. So I'm going to log into one of our customers here that has some live data in there so we can actually get a good look at it and show you where to find those WSWs. And yes, for those of you who have been in the BOSS system quite often, this has changed. This does look different. So we'll go over that here shortly, over what has changed here on that main menu. But as far as the WSWs are concerned, down this left-hand side here, you can click on any of these buttons, but you can also open it up, and we're going to go to WSW analysis. You're going to see a chart down here on yours that has the last year versus this year, as far as this is your stops per on-road hour. That's what this acronym here means. It's going to show, if you've been with a customer of ours for at least a year or more, it's going to show you this year versus last year. And then also you can click the drop down and choose weekly packages and see the same comparison. And you can also see the weekly stops as well, so you can see the comparison there as well. So these are really great if you're wanting to see last year compared to this year. A lot of guys, a lot of contractors we've had that have been here for multiple years, they'll go in here and they'll see, oh, I sold off part of my operation, or I took in another area, and that's why those numbers are maybe off like that. But if they're not, then this can show you the volume differences between last year and this year easily at a glance. And you can also filter them. So if you want to look back further, you can choose another, go back a little bit, and it'll refresh this, and you'll be able to see a little bit more of a little bit longer of a span of time here. So there are two ways to look at your WSW in here. There's operational activity and driver activity. So obviously operational would be your whole operation, not to be, cliche, but it is your whole operation. And driver activity is all of your drivers individually. So if you look at the operational activity, there were a couple of new features that got added within the last couple of months. This main area up here, these averages and totals, got added recently. And just like with every other part of the software, anytime you see the information icon here, you can click on it, and it's going to pop up with some information about what you're looking at and any like little tool tips and things like that as far as how to use the software as well. I like to let people know when you're looking at this. A lot of people, I used to have a lot of customers that they would show me what they're doing, and a lot of them would get in here to the filter, and they would look at what their filter was to determine what they're looking at here. Okay, we added up here, this is the dates that show up. It does default to a month of when you first get in here, it does default to a month. So this is showing you from January 29th to February 29th. And this right here is actually showing you what filter you're looking at. So you're looking at all drivers, all managers, and all CSAs. If I were to go in here, and you can see down here that you are looking at multiple CSAs, because here's one, here's a different number, there's three different ones in here, right? So if I went in here and I said I want to just see this particular CSA, now you're going to see up here it says all drivers, all managers, and this particular CSA. And down here it did adjust for that as well. So you can look at just a particular CSA. This is really great if you do have multiples, being able to separate those out. I know for this contractor in particular, one CSA is much smaller than the other. This particular contractor, this particular CSA does have, I mean, it's, they have, between 4 and 2 employees that go out a day. So it really is a smaller operation, and their numbers are going to be much different than if I went and I looked at this particular CSA.
Yeah, and that's, for anybody who's new getting into this, the size of your CSA may also help you determine, and this is something we do as well with your contract, how you want to structure your contract, fixed versus variable. But it's definitely something to consider. It's a lot tougher when you only have 4 trucks to make cuts, and then you'll see in this one, this CSA averages anywhere from 16 to 18 trucks per day. So, and which is great because it gives you more ability to match your labor to the revenue that you're having that day. Sorry about that.
Right, which is a great, no, you're fine, absolutely. Which is a great segue into why using this tool is such a great thing for your operation. Going in and being able to, like Ken just said, being able to determine, on average, what am I, for the entire week, what's my average number of employees for that particular week. But you can also go into this filter, and let's say you want to look at those pesky Mondays. As far as I understand it, Monday still is the lowest volume day of the week. Sometimes for some people it's not, but you can filter out just Mondays and look at what are my average delivery stops. So I'm anywhere between, 1,500 to about, let's say 1,800. To me, that's, and Ken, you and Bob can attest to this, that's much easier as far as getting into the DRO to determine what plan you want for that Monday than just saying, every Monday I send out 10 people, regardless of what the volume is. And in this case, he's, sending out, one day he sent out 21 people with 1645. But then, on this Monday, he had more delivery stops and sent out one less truck.
And look at the service.
So he probably could
both
have.
days were over 99.5. So, so you'd have to say, why did you send out an extra person for less volume on this day? So, and the one thing on Mondays that you do have to look at also, and really the only day that it varies that much would be your delivered packages, because normally your delivered packages per stop increase on Mondays. So.
And it does look like he's pretty average on these as well, as far as, what those look like. And this particular day, he had less delivery stops, but had more delivery packages. Not very many more, I will give you that. There were probably about 100 more. But he still sent out an extra vehicle that otherwise might have been able to not go out. And then that would have saved the cost of that vehicle, the cost of the driver, the cost of the gas, all of that, which, as all of you who have been on these webinars and on our Tuesday webinars will attest, that is with Network 2.0 and with Express volume coming in, being able to see these numbers and to be able to fluctuate and flex what you're doing based on what your historical information is going to be key in crushing those time definite deliveries. Because if you can get your operation running smoothly with these numbers, then adding in that express volume should be a little less painful, being able to, because you've got everything running like a well-oiled machine. And like I said, these are just Mondays. You can also look at, if you just want to look at another day, you can look at Tuesdays. Well, Tuesdays, he's lower than he is on Monday. Did you see that, Ken?
Yeah, compare Monday to Tuesdays. If you just show them side by next to each other, I think that's where you'll see normally his Tuesdays are very similar to his Mondays.
Like I said, it used to be that Monday was the slowest, but that might have also been because they used to do Sunday service.
Yeah.
A lot of guys don't do Sunday service anymore, so maybe it got switched to Tuesday. However, whenever you change what you're filtering down here, what you're looking at, these totals change as well. So like if we go back to like add up everybody, these totals are going to change. And the totals are really nice to have when you're looking at, these are great for having, if you're wanting to look at, a year, a total of a whole year. It's really great for your negotiations. It's really great for having all of those numbers because, really carries on here, and Ken can tell as well, having your historical data to make decisions on not only the operation like day to day, but also with your negotiations is a big deal as well.
Yes. Also, if you're going to be looking at the capacity calculator, you would be able to pull a lot of the numbers straight from here. So that would tell you, hey, when is it time for me to add a truck, or am I going to be able to absorb this volume for peak or for a certain holiday, or when comes the express integration, what can I absorb? You've got your productivity numbers right there, and then you would utilize those to key them into the capacity calculator. Since you're off on a little tangent there.
Yeah, it's a little bit of a tangent, but this is actually a really good calculator to use for what you're talking about. And it also when you're using the WSW analysis, the operational analysis, those numbers, because they're already calculated for you for that particular time period, yeah, you can put them in here and you can determine without having to calculate them yourself. They already exist in the system. But these calculators are really great for that, being able to fluctuate and figure out how much you guys can actually put on your trucks. Okay. We're going to go back to the WSW analysis and go back into operational activity. There are a couple more things in here. You can export this in a CSV, so if you wanted to pull it out into an Excel file, you can. And there's also, like, if you were looking at this particular week and you just kind of want to minimize it, you just click on the little arrow and it minimizes the whole thing. One other thing I found that was really cool about the way that this is now displaying, if you wanted to, like Ken and I were sitting here comparing Mondays and Tuesdays as far as the delivery stops go. If you click the little arrow next to delivery stops, it's going to sort all of these based on this column. It's going to sort this column based on, you know, highest to lowest. Obviously, I'm pretty sure we can all attest that Saturday is probably going to be your lowest, but you can determine. I had a contractor that told me, you know, what their heaviest days were, and I went in here very quickly, just like I showed you, and was able to determine that he thought it was on Thursday, but it's actually on Tuesday, or whatever the day was. I can't quite remember, but seeing these numbers can tell you which day is their heaviest. And ironically enough, it looks like Monday is probably their heaviest. Monday, Tuesday, and then shows you as far as for just this particular field as well. So if you wanted to do that with any of these fields at all, you can do that. I will click on this one. So I'm going to show you something. If you click on one of these as well, I just saw this miles at 4,000. This looks like a fat finger is what this looks like in a scanner. So if we click on it for any of these days as well, it'll show up this chart here, and you can look at different charts. You can look at stops, packages, miles driven. There's the extra miles. So we'd want to try to get that fixed because it can throw off some of the calculations. But that when you see this is usually somebody put too many miles in a scanner right here. So you can look at that. You can look at the time. So this is going to show you on the top is the on duty, the bottom is on road, and the shaded area in between is the time difference. That typically should be their stem miles, so their stem time. And you start seeing these big differences. In some cases, it might be they're hanging out in the terminal longer than they should. Usually, though, this is their stem miles. There's that, and this is for this particular date, 2/21, and then the ILS of every driver as well. So it will tell you each person's ILS, and everybody's information is down here at the bottom as well. ILS, how many stops they did, and again, the totals and the averages for that particular day as well. Any questions about the operational activity and drilling down into this? Any questions at all? Oh, we have some.
So I just want to stress, like I said, the historical data is critical for your planning by day of the week, so you can make adjustments that you're not running same number of routes Monday through Friday, because that's the quickest way to not have enough revenue on a truck on any given day. So utilize the historical data along with that DRO to give yourself an optimal plan to get the right amount of work on each truck.
Correct. Any other questions about the data that's in here? Any of the functionality here, or honestly, any questions about how you would utilize this in your operation? I know we've got Ken and Bob here that can answer any of those questions as well.
Hey Mason,
yeah, go ahead.
It's Bob. Hopefully my phone doesn't cut out. But I use this every night when I do the DRO for a client. I get on just to verify, what the average is, 4-week average. So look at the high, at the low, and what DRO is saying. Plan accordingly.
Right. So that's a great use case for it, especially seeing those historicals, just double checking your numbers. 9 times out of 10, Bob, you probably have an idea of what you're looking at, or what what plan you should use, but it is good just to double check. So it's also good for that.
Yep. And
Okay.
then too, real quick, like last, they were much heavier than normal. I said, well, what you average, this is what it's calling for. This happens, then you can do this, then do Y. If X happens, do Y. So that way it helps them plan as well in the morning. That way, if they are heavy, they know what they can move from one route to the next.
Right. So it helps you be a little bit more proactive as well. Okay. So if we don't have any other questions about this particular part, we're going to go keep going here. The driver activity is one of my favorite parts of the system, although the new optics app, the new optics stuff that came from the optics app that's in here might be becoming my close second. This is showing you each driver for a particular weekending date. So all of our weekending dates are going to be based off of the FedEx work week, which is Saturday to Friday, as all of you are aware. So we'll just look at this. This again has the same, you can sort by average packages, average stops. You can sort these columns as well. So let's just go ahead and go look at somebody. So if you click on it, it's going to show you all the same information that you just saw on the other screen, but for one driver for the entire week. This is really great if you're evaluating your drivers and their productivity. It's really great if you do quarterly conversations with the driver, or even if you're just wanting to double check. I mean, I've got a couple of customers that use us that they go through here every now and then just to double check. They have a driver that is kind of a problem child, and they're thinking of possibly offering their services to the industry, and then they get in here and they start realizing, well, they might be a problem child. They're very productive. They're very productive on their truck. So it can answer some questions for you that you might otherwise not have known if you didn't have the historical data specific for that particular driver. Let's see. And we also, the stops per on-road hour is a big deal here as well. If you have a driver that typically runs the same route every day, this shouldn't look like a really, really bad EKG. If they're running the same route every day, then these stops per on-road hours should stay very similar. Now, some days it might be heavier and whatnot, but they really should know that route, and they should really be able to do the same amount of stops per hour throughout the week. So that is a really big number to keep an eye on.
Yes, can I add to that?
As well as the on-duty and on-road. Yep,
yeah, if you're going to move to paying hourly, you need to look, that's got to be consistent there. So the only thing that could throw it off is if their delivered packages take a spike or something like that, or pickup packages if they end up with a big pickup and it throws it off. But otherwise, you've got to, when you're managing hourly, you've got to manage every day, and they should have a very consistent performance. So that's what you're looking for. Thanks, Mason.
Yeah, and the same thing goes with on duty and on road. You really, I mean, a lot of people, especially with, say, the negotiations and things like that, and then also getting renegotiations. A lot of times FedEx will come back and say, well, your on-road hours are not where we would expect them to be. Going in here and being able to see what those numbers are is a big deal. Being able to determine what are your actual drivers, what are they actually doing? I think, I'm trying to remember these numbers, I think their assumption is 8.33 hours on road. So in this particular situation, this driver is well below that, what FedEx has assumed on road hours is what they're assuming. So, and again, that's something that you can see really well with your entire operation in here in operational activity. For this particular contract, he's got his on-road and on-duty, but then if you go over here, he's got he's, you know, go in here and look.
You're looking for the
He's
average
looking at,
on-road hours. Yep. So,
yeah.
and you'll see some glitches there where that guy at the bottom didn't have any hours entered. But
It'll mess
anybody
up
who
your,
is, yeah, anybody who is under 8 hours is an opportunity to put more work on. And that's what you're looking for.
and then when you see that opportunity and you know that, going in here and being able to determine, oh, here's one. I would love to work half a day. I don't know about the rest of you. But this 4.01 is his average, and some days he's a little bit higher and sometimes he's a little bit lower. And this particular day, there wasn't anything coming from the scanner for that. However, I mean, it's pretty close because he's right there. This is an opportunity to put more on the truck. And you can say, well, their mileage, this is not the highest mileage I've seen by far. And especially with your express volume that is coming, being able to utilize as much time on those trucks as possible is going to be a big deal for sure.
Once again,
Okay.
as you
Any questions
continue
about this
to change the culture in your operations and evolve into hourly management, holding drivers accountable for their on-road performance absolutely becomes critical. And you want to be able to see, once you get the time definites, has their stops per hour been affected? And it will be in the morning because they're going to be not as efficient by running around trying to get the 10:30s and then the noons. But in the afternoon, when you're adding density, it should come back. But you'll want to know those differences. And for your planning purposes, do you have to plan different stops per hour in the morning than you can expect in the afternoon? And then you have to blended as you come up with your stops, your stops per hour goal and your stops per dispatch goal by driver. Engineering gets a little more interesting with the advent of Network 2.0.
Okay, one last thing I wanted to mention in here, you don't currently see it in here because he's got all of his drivers entered correctly, but something that does pop up in here is if you see one of these, it's usually up right here up at the top, but if in this driver column you see a little dash in here, that means that there's somebody in our system or somebody on your WSW that does not show up in our system for whatever reason. So that means that we could not attribute that information from the WSW to that driver. So what you want to make sure you do is you go into your employees here and you want to make sure, even if, so say that driver is in our system, you just, the name on WSW field's not correct. What you want to do is you want to go into the driver and you want to make sure that, oh, let's see, this one line haul. Yeah, there we go. Gotta find somebody that's not line haul. Okay, so you want to go in here, and this particular driver is P&D. This name on WSW field, you want to make sure that this is exactly as it shows up on the WSW, okay? And if the driver is not in our system, that little dash will show up as well. And you want to make sure to go in here, you click the black plus button and add that driver in. And that's a big deal as well, adding that driver in, making sure that if we're your safety vendor and you guys are doing your ongoing training for your safety through us, it's a big deal to get your driver in here as well, because that means they're getting their safety lessons anyway. So getting in the habit of making sure that driver is in our system as soon as you hire them and that name on WSW is correct, that's going to make a world of difference with the WSW analysis. Okay. Any other questions, comments, concerns, what have you, about the WSW and analyzing it in our system? And if you don't feel comfortable unmuting yourself and asking a question, you can always put it in the chat or in the Q&A. I'll accept all forms of questions. Okay. The next thing we're going to go over is the safety programs, which is perfect. We just went into that a little bit. One of the big things, like I talked about, is making sure that all of your drivers are in our system. If a driver, I feel like this is going, without saying, goes without saying, but if a person is an employee of yours and they are not in our system, they're not getting safety lessons. So making sure that they're added, and that when they're added, that they get under safety setup here, that these things are checked, so that they can get into the system and they can conduct those safety lessons. Okay. There are two ways that a driver can complete those safety lessons. There are links in the email that they get sent. So they do get sent an email. That is why their username is an email address. They get sent an email that has the subject of the lesson, and then there's also a link in there that says complete lesson. They can log into there and complete that. That link has been there since the dawn of eTruckBiz, and it's there because back in the day, we used to have a lot of drivers that did not have smartphones. I know a lot of us don't remember those days. I do. But back then, they didn't have smartphones. They were getting onto their computers and doing them from there. The new improved way of doing it is there's also the P&D driver app. Now, the P&D driver app is obviously for the P&D drivers. We also have a line haul app, which is the line drive app. If a driver is P&D, you want to make sure that they are employee type P&D. If they are line haul, you want to make sure that they're line haul. We do have safety lessons on our system that are specific to line haul and are specific to P&D. So this is kind of an important thing. If a P&D driver starts getting, safety lessons about pintle hooks and dropping trailers, they're going to question, are they supposed to be for me, and should I actually know how to do this? So making sure that their employee type is set correctly is a big deal. But like I was saying, the P&D driver app and the line drive app are both individual for P&D and line haul. And in that app, they can do lots of things. They can clock in and out. They can look at their schedule. They can use, for P&D, they can use eRoute, which is our routing software, and they can complete all their safety lessons. And it's a lot easier to do in the driver app because they can do, if they've got a couple of that are outstanding, they can go ahead and just do them right there. They don't have to worry about getting out of anything and making sure that they actually are completing all of the lessons. In the driver app, it makes sure that they're completing all the lessons. So I would suggest they get into the P&D driver app or the line drive app to do their lessons. But if you've got a couple stubborn children out there stubborn ones that want to use the link in the email, that is perfectly fine. It's in there for that reason. Okay, so there are two ways for them to complete them. When you do add someone that is new, it is important. Their username is an email address, like an active email address, because they'll get those links. But you also, when you go to add somebody, it does default them. If you go under safety setup, it does default for them to access to get all of the safety lessons that are in our system. Okay, let me go ahead and show you where the safety is. If we go open this up and you go to safety programs, it's going to default to safety focus. Safety focus is our ongoing safety training program that all of you have to have under your safety indemnity with FedEx. So if we are your safety vendor for FedEx, this is once a week. It takes, depending on how fast you can read, it takes less than 5 minutes. And there are a couple of questions. There are some other programs out there that they have to watch a 25-minute video and stuff like that, and it takes forever. Ours is not like that. And usually with those, the 25-minute videos, they usually are once a month. Because ours is once a week, there is a little bit of leeway with your drivers being a little bit behind on their safety lessons. I personally, as a teacher by trade, would not tell them that they have that leeway. But I would just for your guys' peace of mind, you do have a little bit of leeway. If they're missing up to 3 lessons consecutively, they're going to be okay as long as they go ahead and get caught back up. Once they're past missing 3, if they start missing 4 and they get into an accident, all bets are off. And Ken can attest to that. They reach out to us and ask after somebody gets into an accident if somebody was compliant on their safety lessons, and 3 or under, you're perfectly fine. 4 or up, they are not. And that means you'll be
especially
liable up
in
to
line
money.
haul, you're at $75,000 risk. The Schedule L has changed this for P&D. However, I firmly believe that FedEx is going to add safety as an annual compliance audit, just like payroll is important, safety is absolutely important. So if you're not, if you're not staying up or your drivers are not staying up on the training, they will incorporate this into an annual compliance audit. And it is part of your contractual standard, so you have to stay up on this stuff. It's critical. And you want to, because your drivers share the road every day with your family, their family, and you want your drivers to return home safe every day.
So what this defaults to is this shows you a 6-month time period. If you would like to go back further, you can you can use this to go back here. And when you want to go look, so it does tell you for the entire company you're at 95%. It's going to show you the 100% first. Again, with a teaching background, I sit here and I say, I want to know who's my low-hanging fruit. So you can hit the little sort arrow here and see who the low-hanging fruit is first, if you would like. In this case, I would say he probably just hired these people. And in this case, I'll show you something that I would particularly use when I hire somebody to make sure that they're safety compliant. In this case, if like say Justin got into an accident and he didn't have this lesson done,
he would be deemed okay, because technically they have to be enrolled, but they have 30 days to do their first lesson. However, what is learned first is learned best and lasts the longest. You've got to set the tone to let them know that their safety is important to you. And if they start to do it weekly on the first week, they'll know it's part of their requirements of doing the job. So that's the way I would stress it.
And like, for instance, this Roger Smith, okay, if we click on him, this particular driver, if they got into an accident right this minute, they would not be compliant, okay? Which means you would be liable for a higher cost of the accident than if they were compliant. What's really great about this, though, is you can sit in here and I'm gonna do it. You can click re-notify and it says email sent. Re-notify, email sent. So you can re-notify them all of these lessons. What notifying them means is it's sending them an email saying, hey, would you like to complete your safety lesson? So sending them from our system another notification, and then you contacting them and reminding them to get them done. All of those things are good ways of trying to make sure that they get caught up on their safety lessons. But this is a way that you can re-notify them. So, I've noticed if you annoy them enough, they'll do it. So re-notifying and contacting them to get those done are a great way of doing that. And there's also, so like for instance, this particular driver would be compliant. I mean, you'd still want to get on them to get these done, but they're only missing 2. The reason behind that is they're getting 52 lessons in an entire year. If they're missing one or 2, it's not the end of the world as far as that's concerned. But like Ken said, making safety a priority is such a big deal, and making sure it's complete is a big deal. Now, for the rest of the stuff that's in here, the other part of safety focus that used to be part of what FedEx used to look at, the only thing that FedEx will ask for compliance on is safety focus. They used to, back in the day, when the ongoing safety training program became a thing, for those of you who've been around that long, if you remember, they said we wanted initial training and then ongoing. This used to be the ongoing, and the initial used to be our safety certification. We did leave it in here, and the purpose behind leaving it in here is it's usually you send out the lessons, they do them once, and then they're done, okay? You can reissue all of them. So there is an undo issued lessons, and you can reissue the entire thing to them. We have some people that utilize this to recertify all their drivers once a year. It's up to you if you want to use it, and it's up to you on how you use it. What I was mentioning before, especially with some of those people that were in safety focus that were brand new drivers, it can be a really great practice when you hire someone new. So for instance, if you saw me, I was scrolling all the way down here, not issued. This was that one driver that was brand new. If I just hired Justin and I wanted to get him caught up on some safety, if he's P&D, he's going to get, if I click issue, he's going to get 15 lessons. And those 15 lessons are the following. They're going to be all of these lessons here. They don't take very long to complete. Like I said, they're one and done, but they have at least seen the content as far as information about how to drive, how to do it correctly, and in a safe manner. This looks really great, especially if you start doing that where you hire somebody and they have to complete these. Like Ken was saying, when they start doing safety audits, having something like this might help you get through that audit. I'm not saying it will, but it might, because you're giving them options, you're showing them all of these safety lessons, you're showing them all this content, and you can say, look, you can click out, you can view the report, you can send this over and say, look, they received all these lessons, they completed all them, they've seen safety information, even before they get onto the road or within a week of getting on the road. That's a lot more information than just showing them, giving them only seeing one lesson the entire week they first got in the truck. Go ahead, Bob.
The safety certification, that will take about an hour. Somebody gets into an accident, you can have them complete that, or just one of the lessons that pertain to the accident. But that does take an hour to do that certification.
To do all of them, yeah.
Yes.
One of them doesn't take an hour. To do all 15, for instance, for P&D it's 15, for line haul it's 11. It would take about an hour to do all of them. But yes, if say I got into an accident backing into someone's mailbox, okay, and you have to recertify me so I can get back on the road. I've already done all these lessons when I first signed up with you. You can go back in here, you can reissue the backing one, and I can recomplete it. Takes me maybe 10, 15 minutes because I'm a slow reader. And I come in here, I complete it. The date completed changes from this date to today's date, and you can click view report and you can send this over to FedEx saying, hey, I recertified that Mason redid her safety lesson, her backing safety lesson, and told her not to back into any more mailboxes. That is also a really great way to use safety certification as well. And again, this can be done through the link in the safety email that they get and on the driver app. So all of these safety programs can be done on the driver app, P&D or line haul. Let's see. If we go to, you can also pull this out as a report and see everybody. So if you wanted to print this out for your weekly safety meeting and highlight everybody that's, not doing too hot, you can do that as well. Okay. Let's see. OpFocus is the one that's the most, well, Bob, jumping the gun. Okay.
Sorry.
So, OpFocus is very similar to Safety Focus. All right. It's just not looked at by FedEx and it's not required. I will say it is a great safety program that gets sent out every Thursday. So it's again once a week. It doesn't take very long, a couple minutes, but it's really great for operational information. So let's see if I can find. Okay. So this is instead of like don't back into mailboxes and stop texting and driving. This is operational. So efficient methods, pickups, arriving at the pickup stop, pick up a package with your legs, not your back. Do you need to get a signature for alcohol? Things like that. At any time something comes up that's new. So back during the years of COVID, there were the scanner codes and stuff like that FedEx had come out with. There was a lesson on that saying, here's the scanning code to release a package. and any other information that needed to be given to all the drivers. This is a great way of getting information for eTruckBiz and for everybody to get information onto the drivers that's about more methods than driving and safety in driving. So not required, but I would recommend you leave it on because there's some pretty good information in here, pre-sorting and loading your vehicle, driving checklists, the preload routine, things of that nature. So there's some good information in here for your drivers to see once a week as well. Safety track is something for you to utilize. That's again not something that FedEx looks at. This is a way of keeping track of things like your weekly safety meeting. Say you want to have the drivers see a document that you don't necessarily want to print out, but you want to put it into their hands. You can create that's Safety Live. I'm sorry, Safety Live. So I was talking about Safety Live and I was on Safety Track. So bear with me. Safety Live is what I'm talking about. What this is you creating a meeting that you can have in front of everybody, with everybody in front of you, but you can put in meeting content. So you can put in files, you can put in, like I was saying, if you wanted to have them see something in particular in front of them, you can put it under files and any meeting content. So you can put in, today we're talking about, closing the bulkhead door, or whatever the topic is for your guys' safety meeting that particular day, you could put it in here. Now, something we added, okay, is which topic type. So you can do a custom one and you can select a topic. This particular contractor, as I said, has been with eTruckBiz since the dawn of time. They have a lot in here. But you can choose from any of these, and you can either select any of these or you can enter a new topic. And when you enter a new topic, it's going to eventually, once you've saved this, it's going to show up in this dropdown. Okay, so just be aware of that. And if you want to choose a safety focused topic, so you can choose from our list of safety topics. So let's just go ahead and do drowsy driving. When you do that, it's going to pull up all the content from our drowsy driving safety focused topic, and you can use that for your live meeting. So that's something that we've recently added. You can add the host of the meeting, the location. A lot of times this is the terminal. And you can put scheduled, held, postponed, or canceled, and also any meeting notes, notes about the meeting. What this will do when you click save, you can add these all as everybody as a participant, okay? And you can, what's going to happen is on their driver app, they're going to have a Safety Live meeting in there, and they can see all of the meeting content. They can see any of the files that you may have added, and they can check a box and type in their name to sign off that they were there and they saw the content. Okay, this is really great for having them sign up that they were even there and that they saw it. It also makes it so that if somebody's not actually there that day for whatever reason, they have seen the content and can sign off on it as well. Okay, so that is what Safety Live is. Here are some of the ones that he's done. So they did one on the eTruckBiz app. Here, we'll go ahead and pull it up. So they said what we'll be discussing and that they held it. Here are all the people that attended. So they've got statuses. And you can also pull these out as a PDF. So there is a little button over here as a PDF. You can pull this out. It tells you the content and the sign-in sheet. Okay? You can pull those out and save them for your records if you'd like. Now, Safety Track. So Safety Track comes out once a month. It comes out in the rears. So I believe tomorrow is the 1st. Is that correct? Tomorrow, the Safety Track email and notification will go out to all the drivers for the month of February, asking them all, hey, did you have your license in the month of February? We've had a lot of people ask this. Why do we ask? There have been instances where driver gets into an accident, they get disqualified, come to find out they didn't even have their license anymore, it got revoked. In this particular situation, you can say, hey, yes, my driver told me that they had their license and they didn't have any they hadn't had any violations on their MVR. It's just a really great way of keeping track of that, so that way you can say, look, I've asked them, and they said that they had their license. Okay, so that's why that is there.
Yeah, the other thing is it helped, a professional driver can remember if they were convicted of a moving violation in the last 4 weeks. Then when they have to do their annual review of driving record, either March or February for FedEx, they could actually pull this up on their app and they could see which month that they had that moving violation. So it's much easier for them. And then it's also, as Mason said, it protects you in the case that they had an accident and didn't have a valid license and they failed to report stuff to you. So it's it's a beneficial tool, not required, but just a great tool to protect your business and to help your employees when it's time to do their annual review of driving record.
Yes, I'm big into trust but verified. Big into that. Okay. And Bob, the last thing we're going to go over is safety documents. So what this is, these are preloaded with your information, with your particular your company name and your name and the date, all of that information. These are for you to use if you would like. You can download them out of the system and adjust them to your needs. But these are great to, if you got an OTC for safety, or you have to submit these to FedEx for whatever reason. These are really great ways to say, hey, I use their safety focus, and every week a brief subject, it's already typed out for you. Okay, so you don't have to type all this up and put all of that information into a safety plan or a safety manual. Any other things to add to that, Bob or Ken?
No,
Nope,
I know
thank
some
you.
people, some people have had to go into AIM meetings, and this is something that FedEx might ask for. So encourage you to, if you're a subscriber, you can use this. If you are going to get an additional CSA and they want you to submit an RFI and these plans, you've got them right there at your fingertips.
Any questions on any of the safety programs? A quiet group today. Okay, last thing that I'm going to go over real quick here is the maintenance system. The vehicles, everything in our system, if it pertains to the drivers, it's going to be under the drivers. If it pertains to vehicles, it's going to be under vehicles. So like your timekeeper and things like that are going to be under employees, and things like maintenance are going to be under vehicles. Just to let you know, there are 2 things here that say maintenance on them. This is the one that does your MMRs. Okay, this one down here that says maintenance request is for line haul, specific to line haul, and does not create MMRs. This one for everyone, line haul, P&D, everybody creates MMRs. We're going to go into maintenance, and there's a couple of great things about the maintenance system. One is, as you're putting in this information that you replaced the windshield on this particular vehicle, here's the odometer, here's how much it cost, and what check you wrote to pay for it, you start to get a total amount down here at the bottom. So it's telling you for this particular month, from this date to this date, you spent $3,011.11. What's really great about it is, let's say, we go into the filter and we want to say, I want to see year-to-date. Well, let's actually do, year-to-date on a particular vehicle. This one has some stuff in it. So this one was to replace the windshield. If this was, let's say it was just for the entire year of 2023, it would have all of the records that you created for that particular truck in here, and it would tell you how much you spent on it. This is really great for the end of the year or the beginning of the year. You're trying to evaluate each truck. You know that you've got some trouble trucks that have been in the shop forever. Is it time to maybe spend that money on a different truck, or is it time to swap those out? it might be, you know, an option time to do that. However, now you can actually see the total amount you spent on that truck for that entire year. Yes, the system is generally used to create your maintenance records and create your MMRs, but we wanted to make sure that you also had a way of evaluating your trucks and evaluating how much money you're spending on them to be able to adjust moving forward, because that is a big cost. I mean, it's not as big as the cost as paying your drivers and you know, your payroll, but spending money on trucks to keep them operating is a really big cost. Okay, so keeping an eye on that and being able to evaluate those is a really big deal. Go back to the filter. Go back to this month. So we're going to look at just this month, and this particular month he only did this one. Now, he may have more than that. They just don't have them in yet. Sometimes, you know, for whatever reason, they add them, you know, right before they go to do their MMRs. Whenever you enter them, it's up to you. You don't have to enter them right away. You don't have to enter them. I mean, the big thing is getting all your records in here to be able to generate your MMRs is a big deal as well. When you click Add Maintenance, you're going to see this screen. And just so you know, if you wanted to put supporting files in here, say you wanted to put in the receipt for this particular maintenance, if you click Upload File, it's going to tell you have to create this maintenance record first before adding any files. Okay, so we have to click Save before we can upload a file. So was this preventative maintenance? We're going to say yes. Let's say it was an oil change. And say we did it last week. We're going to pick a vehicle. I'm going to put in an odometer. The big thing with this is where, if there was maintenance done on your truck in the month of February, because we're in February, so you're getting ready to turn these in for next month, for the month of February. If there was maintenance on the truck, the odometer that shows up on the MMR is going to come from this maintenance record. So making sure that these are accurate is a big deal. Okay, we're going to choose which CSA, say what maintenance type. There are lots in here because, again, he's been in here, putting them in here. If you don't see one, so say your list is not this long, you go down to Other, you can type it in. And just like with the safety programs, if you go to type this in, you click Save, that particular maintenance type is now going to show up under here, this list. Okay, so trying to make sure that you don't have a million like this particular contract does is being strategic in what maintenance type you type in here. So let's go ahead and do oil. Say oil change. You can also put in, so this is just a description that is going to show up on the MMR. If you wanted to put how much oil you used, what type, I would suggest putting it down in the notes. The only reason for that is that the notes don't show up on the MMR. And this is just so like later, if you need to know how much you need to buy, or you need to know how much, say you're doing it yourself, or you've got a mechanic that needs to know those things, you can put the notes in here. You can also choose from a vendor. He's got a lot in here. And same thing with the maintenance type. If you click Other, you can type that in as well. If your oil change gets done by the same people every single month, every single time, put them in there, and you're going to go ahead and choose it from here. I've never known an oil change on any vehicle, let alone one of these trucks, be $100, but that's what I always put in here. And you also have some other things. These are not required, but you can put them in here. If you had a lot of work done on a truck and you want to put in the OEM and the labor hours, you can go ahead and put those in there. Those do not show up on the MMR, but are there for you for your reference. You can also put in a different a reference type. Say they replaced a part on the truck, and you want to make sure later, if you ever need to buy that part again, you know what the part number is on it without having to pull it off the truck and try to find it that way. You can put it in here and have it for later. Okay. So you would click Save on this. I'm gonna go ahead and click Save because I can delete it later, and it is going to show up in this list here. I might have put the wrong date in there. Of course. There you go. So I had the truck number in there, so that's why it wasn't showing up. But let's see, oil change. Here was my oil change, how much it was, and there's all the information, right? If you wanted to add a file to it, you can go ahead and open it back up, click upload file, and start to upload any information you would want into there. A lot of people will add like the invoice or the receipt. Okay, we're gonna go ahead and delete this because I don't want to mess up his MMRs. There you go. Now, once you have all of your maintenance in there, let's say he did do an oil change. Let's just say one of these is an oil change. If you open it up, down here at the bottom, you can set up reminders. You can set a date reminder for oil changes. It's easier to do a date reminder if your drivers are not using the driver app to complete pre and post trip inspections. Okay, because the date is a set date, and our system will start reminding you when that oil change needs to be done. The odometer reminder is really great to use if you want the truck to be changed at a certain odometer and your drivers are using our P&D driver app to do their pre and post trip inspections, because that's where that odometer reading comes from. Okay. And you would want to put that it's due and any notes about that reminder. Okay. So that is where you would get reminders from our system. And if you were to put this in here, there are maintenance reminders. There's a calendar in here for you. Doesn't look like he currently has any in here, but it would show up in here for you. That you know, you could go in here and export this as a CSV for all your reminders and give it to your mechanic or what have you, and they would have a list of all the ones that are due for that particular month, whatever that preventative maintenance was. Any questions before we get into the MMR report? You click MMR report, here's what comes up. There's a lot more options now these days because we've had a lot of people ask for things to be added. The main thing is this is going to switch to March come tomorrow. So you want to make sure that this says February because that's the month you're going to be doing them for this next time. For some reason, a couple people asked us to omit the maintenance dates. I'm not sure how helpful that would be on an MMR, but it got asked. So it got put in there. You can omit the out-of-service vehicles. So sometimes there are certain vehicles that are going to be out of service because they're sitting, waiting to be worked on. That's why this is here. And then also you can add a signature. So in our system, under your employee or under you can add a signature. So that way it'll be added to the MMR. And all you have to do is download those MMRs and email them where they need to go. So I'll show you where that is. And then there's all these options. So you can choose the operating unit and the domicile or the CSA. But it depends on what the truck is signed to, okay? So I'll show you that in a second. But under each truck, you either have assigned a domicile or you've assigned a CSA or both. But you can pull them either way. This is a great way if you've got multiple CSAs, you've got multiple domiciles, being able to sort those out so you're not having all of your MMRs come out into one whole big file and then having to change them all around and separate them all out to get them to the particular terminal that they need to go to, okay? And then this completion date is today's date. We're going to go ahead and click Create MMR. I don't think that particular contract driver that particular person had a signature in the system. Let's see. Okay, so here is the MMR. This particular truck did not have any maintenance done on it this particular month, so it did not have a mileage. I will show you where you can put that to have that generate there, okay? And again, the signature's on there, date completed, it's all good to go. Okay. Any questions about pulling these out and generating these MMRs? As far as the MMRs are concerned, is there a place to enter the end of month mileage easily? Yes. Okay. So The end of month mileage, you would go to the trucks. So we're going to get out of here. So I'll show you where this is. You would go to the particular truck and you would put in the mileage verification and click save. Then you go to the next one. So they're going to be your trucks in order. And you're going to put in this mileage verification and you're going to click save. That, if no maintenance was done on that truck for that particular month, that is where the mileage is going to come from for the MMR. Okay. Like I said, if there was maintenance done on the truck, it's going to come from that maintenance record rather than this mileage verification. But a lot of people have just gotten into the habit of they get all their mileage done. They pull all their mileage, they write it all down. They go in here and they just go truck by truck, put that mileage in real quick, and they're good to go. And then they go run their MMRs. So that is where the mileage verification goes. Tracy, was that what you were asking? Looks like that's what you were asking, but I just wanted to make sure that okay, good, that answered your question. The other thing about the signatures, I want to make sure I show you where that is before we move on. If you go to the employees and you go to say your name, okay, so this particular contractor down here, and he has a lot of employees. So for those of you who don't have this many employees, you're lucky. He's got a lot of them. If you go in here and this particular contractor, you go to files and signature, and he's already got his signature in here. You would want to either upload a new signature or capture one. If you have a picture of a signature, you can upload that picture in here and it'll be just fine. If you want to capture a new one, you would click this button. It will pop up with a signature pad on here, whether you do it on a computer that actually you can like use your finger on, or you can also do it with your cursor. Either way is perfectly fine. But you would do that, click save, and it shows up in there, and you can add that signature to your MMRs moving forward, okay? But it's under your particular record under the employees tabs here, okay? So like if this particular person was a manager and they can sign it, you would put it under here under files and signature, okay? Any other questions about the maintenance system, the MMRs, any of the other stuff we went over today? Went over the WSW, safety, and utilizing the maintenance system. Any other questions about any of that? Okay. One last thing I'm going to show you real quick before you all get out of here is our new part of the software, which I showed slightly at the beginning, and then I left it to your imagination, okay? So for those of you who have been customers of ours for a while, our system, we created the Optics app, which is an app that goes on either your phone or a tablet that shows you information that comes from the FedEx API, which is today's information. This is, for those of you who've been in the BOSS system before, is a new home screen that now is also pulling in some of that FedEx API information that goes into the Optics app, but is now showing up in here, okay? So in this particular situation, this is going to show you all CSAs, and this is all of the drivers where they last scanned. Here, look, that's the route, that's the driver, unit. Last delivery stop was this one and what time they were there. Okay, so that's going to show all his CSAs. If we want to show just one, zoom out. If we want to look at just this one, going to probably zoom out again, and yep, there we go. So this is that route, the CSA that only has the 4 drivers usually on average. Okay, and then down here, it's going to show you routes on road, estimated completed delivery stops, and estimated pickups. Let's go ahead and go to this one because he's got a lot more in this one. And you can see a satellite view, a map view, and also add terrain. Those options are there, and you can also make this bigger, full screen, if you'd like. Keep out of that. And then if we click the See Details button, it's going to ask you, are you sure you'd like to retrieve activity data? It may take a couple minutes. This is asking this because it's directly pulling this data from the FedEx API, and it's getting the most recent information from the scanners and FedEx's information. You can see over here, it's telling you what percentage you're at, and over here it'll tell you as well, okay? So it's pulling that information in here for a second. I pulled the one for the other CSA because it's only 4 drivers. Was wrong on my part. This is only going to go as fast as the FedEx API can go, as you all know. Takes just a second. And especially since he's got, I mean, he's got 25 routes. Well, I should say he's 23 on road. So he's already got a couple people that are done for the day today, which we probably would have known because he had some drivers that their on road hours were 4 hours a day. Okay. No. There we are. So this information, again, is coming from the FedEx API. It's pulling everything in. You can see all of this and more on the Optics app next week. We're going to go over the Optics app and into this in depth here. But this is where you're going to start seeing these time definite stops. This is all of the stuff that we have in here now for this and in the Optics app are optimized and ready to go for whenever you get time definites in your operation. It is ready to go, ready to be used. I would suggest you maybe start using it now so that you get used to it and get the swing of how this stuff works before you start using it for prime time as far as time definites go. But this is going to show you your on-road information, how many exceptions for each of these, your main screen. You can also look at time commits. So here is a list of your TV stops. They've got 5 remaining. This particular contractor doesn't have any actual like the 1030s and the 12s for express. But if you did, this is what they would look like. It does have the later ones that are in here that everybody has. So it will tell you, what time you have to deliver them after, deliver them by. Those will show up in here. And you can also filter these out. So when you do get your express volume and you just want to see your 10 o'clocks, you can just choose your 10 o'clocks and it'll let you see them. And on any other commit times or stops, late stops, all of those are going to show up here. And you can also toggle this over to see completed stops as well. So here are all his completed stops. They're kind of grayed out a little bit. So it tells you, yes, they've already completed these. And it does also tell you in here what time they completed them. All of this, like I said, is available on the Optics app, either on a tablet or an iPhone. Tablet or a phone, not just an iPhone.
Yeah, with time definites, I can assure you there's nothing better than this for, every day at 10 o'clock, I'm going to have this pulled up from looking at my 1030s. It's going to flash I'm going to get a flashing yellow signal telling me, hey, this driver's got to get here within a half hour. I'm going to do the same thing at 11:30 for my noons, and then we're going to track them in the afternoon as well. So extremely valuable tool. Your contract will depend on you delivering 98.5 on-time service, and the bonus that you get paid will have you'll have to hit 98.5 on those 2 service levels as well. So critical that you manage it, monitor it, and hold the drivers accountable for that service.
Correct. And also this preload tab currently doesn't have anything in it. But if you were to get in here, like say tomorrow morning, when everybody's, your trucks are preloading, this would show you what's getting sorted onto those trucks. Okay, so it is legitimately your preload. You can watch it get built. Everything's just showing up on road right now because he's actually got everybody on road, or it's currently done. So you can also select sort by, and you can sort everything by any of these. There is a sort in here as well. And you can also type into this and look for, if you're looking for something in particular, and this is great. You've got a lot of drivers, just like this guy does. You can start typing in someone's name and it'll start pulling up for you. Okay. Any questions about any of this? No questions? I haven't had this quiet of a group, Ken, and it's been weeks. Weeks.
That's all right. We had a big group and we kept them a long time today. So
We did.
luckily
Okay.
it was just
You
a
all have
recap.
Yep.
So go ahead.
Yeah, that's true. It is just a recap. And like I said, these recaps that we do once a week are really great for BCs because it goes over everything we already went through the month. And any questions that we might have had throughout the month end up showing up in here. So, if you're still here, thank you for sticking around with us. This was a little bit longer one this time. Thanks for sticking around. We hope to see you next week. We'll be going over the time definites and the optics app, which I kind of just gave you a little bit of a sneak peek on, and going over everything we know about time definites and how to use our system to crush those. Okay. So if I don't see you or talk to you before next week, have a great rest of your week, an awesome weekend, and we will see you next week.
Goodbye.
Have a great day.